I'll be doing the detailed presentation tomorrow. So for now, I'll just give the context behind the work that we're doing on the MPI. So let me start by introducing myself. So I'm from the Ministry of Economic Planning. I'm the Assistant Minister, and I'm in charge of national policy and planning. And part of my responsibility is really to steer the preparation of our Philippine Development Plan. So that Philippine Development Plan is prepared every time there's a new administration, and it takes its cue from the broad framework of the President. And so for this current President, the goal that was stated in our Philippine Development Plan is really to achieve inclusive growth. So we have defined that quite extensively, one paragraph long. And then the strategies that was also specified is that the platform will be on good governance. So we have set out outcomes, targets on the economic front, on the social outcome indicators, and also on good governance. And so after 3 years into the administration, so we had to take stock of what has happened. And as it turns out, in terms of the economics, we're doing quite well. 2012, we were the third fastest growing country in the region. 2013, we had Typhoon Haiyan towards the latter part of the year, but still we grew by 7.2%, so it's still quite well. Governance reforms, we were doing also very well, and we were also receiving recognition from international ratings agencies. In the World Competitiveness Indicator, for instance, we jumped 13 notches up, and we were the best performer last year. We received our investment grade rating, the first ever, and so this was all good. And then came the full year 2012 poverty statistics. And it showed that poverty incidents between the years 2009 and 2012, so you're talking 3 years, and we had solid growth in 2012 and going to 2013. And then, of course, the poverty statistics came in about October of 2013. That was the time lag. So anyway, so that showed that poverty incidence was reduced, but only very slightly. It's actually by 1.2 percentage points. Of course, statistically insignificant. And therefore, there was lots of criticisms that, all this talk about good governance, is that working for us? Is that working for the common person? Is it putting food on the table? And so there were a lot of criticisms that we have to rethink all of these strategies, that it's not all about growth, it's not all about good governance, it has to be something else. That was actually an unfair criticism because in addition to all these growth strategies, we were able to realize a lot of fiscal space, so much so that we have actually increased our budget for health and education by about 25%. And then for the conditional cash transfer, which is almost like the Bolsa Familia, we have increased the coverage from about 800,000 families in 2008. We were able to increase it to over 3 million families in 2012 and over 4 million families in 2013. And so again, the big question, so with all these investments in human development, how come there was no response with respect to income poverty? Of course, it has to do with the way we were measuring poverty. And so anyway, what we did was to update the Philippine Development Plan, taking stock of all the lessons learned. And then we also thought that we should come up with an indicator that is very closely akin to the definition of poverty as a state of being. And it's not just about income, because income is too unidimensional. And since, as in most other countries, poverty is actually a rural phenomenon, and most of the poor are actually their own producers. And most of them do not even have cash income. So it's actually quite difficult for them to grasp the concept of income poverty, because they don't even have cash income. And so, well, it's also so happened that our Minister of Economic Planning, Arsenio Balisacan, is one of the first ones who actually applied the multidimensional poverty index. And so we also thought that it's a very important indicator to promote accountability among our social service delivery units in government. Because always the excuse was, all these health programs, all these education programs, you really cannot expect them to reduce income poverty right away. So in a way, it was getting to be a convenient excuse. And so we thought that with this measure of poverty index, which is the multidimensional poverty, we are also promoting good governance. We're promoting accountability, because then all these agencies, all these ministries of health, of education, and all those implementing our conditional cash transfer, then all their programs should translate into reductions in the multidimensional poverty index, because these are the very outcomes that they want to influence. And so right now, what we did was to, like I said, update the Philippine Development Plan. And then we have fine-tuned the strategies there. And in addition, we have come up with new outcome indicators that we think will still be promoting good governance. We are still after that, good governance is good economics. We still have the growth there. And then in addition, we have introduced this multidimensional poverty index. So just about 2 weeks ago, I think, or 3 weeks ago, we have actually presented the first results of the multidimensional poverty index before a ministerial level. We call it the Human Development and Poverty Reduction Cluster in government. And there's wide acceptance for the index. Right now, it's not yet an official statistics being generated by our statistics agency, but what we do have is an official's estimate of the statistic, because it was estimated by our economic planning minister. And so we are actually excited about this index, because we know that this is something that can be easily understood, even by the common person, so that when we say that poverty has declined, of course we will still be measuring income poverty. So for instance, the latest result would show that whereas income poverty declined by 1.2 percentage points only between 2009 and 2012, the head count of the multidimensional poverty actually declined by about 4 percentage points. But the intensity has declined by much less than that. So that tells us that the reduction is more in terms of the number of people taken out of poverty, but the intensity has remained, a bit still on the severe side. And that is, again, gives us another new dimension to planning about this, the poverty reduction and the development. So more on those tomorrow. Thank you very much.